Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we talk the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football, from the latest signings to this year's breakout stars and all of the news in between. As always, I am Alex.
And as always, I'm Jeremiah.
And we are back on a Tuesday, the 6th of December. We are here, and it's December. It's a great month for football. And, it's rather foggy here today.
It is. It's very foggy. And I didn't even drive on the freeway today. Well, I never do because I don't have to. Mm-hmm. But
that would have been a little more open.
It would have been a little more
open. Where I
open.
drive is like along, it's one road pretty much that takes me from where I live all the way down to here, right?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Bradshaw. I don't know if you take that one.
No, I take La Riviera Drive.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I turn into Folsom Inn. Mm-hmm. For anyone that's wondering, like, oh, where are these streets at? We're in Sacramento.
Yeah. But where I am, the street Bradshaw is down just mostly field stuff. So obviously with the field and like the moisture, it's nothing but fog. Like visibility was like 50 feet, I think. I don't know how your drive was. And no offense, I don't mean this in a bad way. I was out of the house a lot earlier than you too, so it was still dark too. You know.
Well, yeah, you had to be here earlier. It was starting to lighten
up a bit. Yeah, I had to be here for the sports show.
It was a lot more crowded because a lot more people were driving to work, and it was sun was setting, so it was pretty much.
You mean rising? It
was rising already. It already risen.
It had been risen.
It had been risen. So yeah, and it was foggy too. And it's growing up near Fresno in the Central Valley, fog is terrible there.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, it is very terrible. Like it's probably been foggy there for the past couple of weeks. I'm not really sure.
It's the same thing with Davis out here.
Yeah, it is.
Because of all the farmland.
It is, yeah, exactly.
Now, I know you're pretty active on social media. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Twitter account Carl the Fog.
No, I haven't.
He's the official Twitter account for the Fog of San Francisco.
Huh.
So the San Francisco Fog is named Carl the Fog, and he tweets, he's always about the weather, just really funny stuff. And I was thinking today, I was like, man, Carl the Fog really worked his way over here to the valley, to Northern California here out of the Bay Area. Because it's funny, yeah. Because, San Francisco, they get some heavy-duty fog.
They do.
They get some heavy-duty fog. All right. Well, we're going to talk today, obviously, Monday Night Football, Indianapolis Colts, New York Jets. That, I guess you could call it a game. And
let's just say this. It was a game that had to be played.
Yes. I will tell you exactly what. It wasn't. Is it McDonough? Is that who does Monday Night Football?
Yes.
Now? Yes, thank you. So it's what he said about 2 drives into the game last night that is the perfect description of that game. So I'll tell you that when we get started. And then we're going to talk Heisman candidates, and then we're going to also update you on what the playoffs are looking like as of right now heading into Week 14. So let's start with Monday Night Football. We have the Indianapolis Colts taking on the New York Jets. The Indianapolis Colts destroy the Jets 41-10 to move to 6-6 in a 3-way tie, but technically speaking, having lost to the Texans earlier in the year, they are in second place. So Texans in first place at 6-6, then the Colts, and then the Titans all at 6-6, but the Colts swept the Titans. So that is why they are in the 2 spot. And the Jets, like I said yesterday, all the way down in the core of the earth at 3-9, in the not the cellar of the AFC East, but the core of the earth around the crust and all of that. The New York Jets sit at 3-9. So in this one, Andrew Luck was 22 for 28. It was only 6 incompletions. 6 incompletions, that's more incompletions than Ryan Fitzpatrick had completions. He ends the day 22 for 28, 278, and 4. 3 of those going to Dwayne Allen. He had 4 receptions, 3 touchdowns, 72 yards. T.Y. Hilton got his 4th straight year and season of 1,000 yards with 146 yards receiving on the day on 9 receptions. He passed that mark again. He needed something like 62 or 52 yards, and he passed that, I want to say, in almost 5 plays. He was open all night.
Well, look at the defense he was playing
yes,
against.
Exactly. So, and then the Jets obviously only putting up 10 points. Ryan Fitzpatrick left the game at halftime. Coach's decision, no injuries. He was pulled. 5 for 12, 81 yards, and a pick. Bryce Petty came in. Didn't look great. 11-25, 135. He had a touchdown late. A play that I don't know if you're watching the game. They ran that.
I didn't. Okay, I was watching it, and then I realized why am I watching it? And then I ended up catching up on The Walking Dead, and I feel like it was the best decision I made last night.
Well, I watched the Monday Night Football games in depth because I have the sports show by myself, so it gives me a little bit of an easier way to talk about it. But they must have ran this play 4 times, and he overthrew him 3 times, and then finally hit him for a touchdown. It was about 40 yards, touchdown to Robbie Anderson, young fast kid there. I think he's a rookie. So he ended the day with 4 for 61 and a touchdown. A lot of drop passes for the Jets. A lot of drop passes. I saw 3 different ones, I think, on back-to-back plays by Austin Sperry-Jenkins. Bile Powell. I think C.J. Spiller dropped some. Lots of drop passes. Anyways, he ended the day kind of iffy. 2 picks, both kind of ugly. One thing I like about him, though, is he has a cannon for an arm. He's not insanely accurate, but that guy's got a hose. Excuse me. Now, what is most impressive to me from the Colts standpoint, nothing about the Jets game was impressive to me from their standpoint, but possession for them, 38 minutes and 24 seconds to only 21-36 for the Jets. They played pretty much better than them from the absolute beginning of the game, 421 yards to 250. They had the exact same amount of drives, 12 drives, yet the plays were 70 to 52. And the yardage difference there. They only had 36 yards rushing, the Jets, as opposed to the Colts, 136. They got about 214 yards passing, which isn't bad, but 3 interceptions thrown as a team. They had 6 penalties for 90 yards, 3 turnovers, like I said, with the interceptions. They were averaging 2.6 yards a carry. They had a pretty bad day. 27-13 in terms of first downs in favor of the Colts, obviously. This game was insanely boring. They were 3 for 11 on 3rd down. Now, one funny thing that I want to mention, it was another Monday night game that was insanely boring, that the most interesting part of it was streakers on the field.
For the second time this season.
This time there was 2 people around the field.
Oh, it's okay.
But
so
it wasn't exciting as the Niner one in the week 1. It wasn't exciting as that. There was no awesome call.
Oh, okay. Well,
I wish.
I wish there was.
It should have been Harlan on the radio though. So I wonder if what he would. I don't know if they talked.
I think we would have heard about it by now.
Exactly.
If it would have happened.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I was saying is McDonough about 2 drives in because the Colts caused them to punt. Lost two straight negative plays, and then Colts caused them to punt, and then they scored straight up. And then I think Fitzpatrick might have thrown his pick, and then they scored again straight up. And McDonough said the Jets might want to go back to the locker room and try to start this one over.
Yeah, yes, I did. I
was
that.
Like,
I did hear that one after that second touchdown to make it 14-0. I think with below, less than 8 minutes to go. I did hear that, and I was like, you know what? Maybe McDonough don't even want to watch. He don't even want to watch the game. He doesn't want to call the game. So why should I? Why should I watch it?
Yeah, I watched pretty much all of it.
I feel sorry for you, man.
I
know you do the sports show, but still, I think you can still talk about it watching the half because that's technically a story.
Well, there was decent little subplots in this one. Andrew Luck's first game coming back from his injury, played well. He's only sacked once, and it was kind of a coverage sack.
Not only that, Andrew Luck moves up, in the Colts for most touchdown passes. Frank Gore.
Thank you.
Got,
that's where I was going
got
next.
8 all time.
Passes Tony Dorsett.
Exactly.
Pretty prestigious running back there. One of the best ever.
And no former Niner there. I miss him over there.
Frank Gore. Oh, yeah. I was like, Tony Dorsett never played for the Niners. And then, T.Y. getting his 1,000 yards, 4 straight seasons for him. There's a lot of subplots, It was just
there's a different variety
game.
There's a different variety of ways we can talk about this game. We can talk about how important Andrew Luck was to this team, and we can talk about how prestigious Frank Gore going to number 8 rushing yards all time, or we can talk about how bad
you can talk
or
about
how
the consistency of T.Y. Hilton getting 1,000 yards every year with a team that's never really been that great except for his first 2 years there.
Or we can talk about how bad the Jets are. And something I do want to point out is that, man, oh man, we're probably going to have a football game on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Football, yeah.
That's going to be Bryce Petty because he did get announced as a starter for the final 4 games from Tall Bowls last night. We're going to have Bryce Petty versus Blaine Gabbert. Can't you wait for that matchup, Alex?
So on the sports show, I said this could possibly be the worst game ever played.
No, it's going to be a lot worse than that Bears and Niners game. You think the Niners look bad, and you think the Jets look bad. Boy, you have not seen nothing yet.
I'm going to look and see what the weather is going to look like because the game is in.
It's in
New York.
Levi's.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Looking at the wrong schedule. It's in Levi. Yeah, I said that earlier. Stupid Alex. So it's in Levi. As of right now, it is looking to be. They don't have the weather up yet. It's probably going to be about pretty sunny, probably cold. Right now the ESPN matchup predictor favors the Niners 62-36. So that's exciting. Like you have that going for you, Jeremiah. Yeah, as a Niners fan.
I don't even know if I want to watch the game. I'm not going to lie.
That's fair enough.
This is like probably I don't know who's worse. Okay, I think we could put the Jets as probably the 3rd worst team in the league, maybe the 2nd worst. It's depending on how this game on Sunday looks like. Because the Browns,
they're like the 3rd or 4th worst because the Jaguars are up there right now too in terms of
record.
You know what?
I always forget about them too. The Jaguars though, they actually look pretty decent on defense. Their offense,
at times, yeah.
Their offense is just pretty bad. But as a whole team overall, the Niners and the Jets, they just looked horrible the whole entire year. And there were times when the Niners had played good, but they just don't have the talent. The Jets, there were times that they played good, but, they just don't have the talent as well.
Very true. Now, real quick, before we take our break, I was going to say, the weather for next Sunday, this is for San Francisco, not exactly Santa Clara, but relatively the same. It is literally the next, from today, it's sunny, right? From Wednesday tomorrow to Thursday next week, every day is rainy. Except for Sunday.
I think it's kind of like that here, too, in Sacramento.
I would have to look. But every single day from tomorrow to next Thursday, as of right now, is listed as rainy. Except for Sunday. So, wow. Hey, maybe that's a good thing for Niners.
It's probably going to be cold.
Playing in the weather.
It's going to be windy.
Well, it's always cold in San Francisco. You know that. That, Jeremiah.
Oh, I do.
Anyways, enough of the weather report for you guys.
But, yeah, how excited you are for that Blaine Gabbert Bryce Petty matchup.
I am. If I could be negatively excited, I would. And yes, you were right. The weather is the same here. If I could be negatively excited, I would. Like, if there's a way to pull excitement from other things to try to make me excited, I would. But I doubt.
Okay. Well, I think that's enough talk right there against the Jets and Niners. But the Colts, they've got back into the playoff picture. Well, they were in a playoff picture. Now they have more of a chance to win this division, which I think they are the best team right now. I think it's either between the Colts or the Tennessee Titans right now. The Tennessee Titans have really looked like a better team before the bye week. And Marcus Mariota is probably playing the best football I've seen him as a pro in the second year.
Most consistent, probably. He had a lot of sparks last year.
Yeah,
consistent.
He's been really consistent for the past month and a half. And the Colts are going to play the Houston Texans this Sunday, so they are going to play for first place.
Yeah, so they can get. I guess you could say points. They can get important wins where it matters most. Against the team in first in the division. So
yeah. So
go to the source.
And then they swept the season series of Tennessee Titans. So basically, if they just win this game against the Houston Texans on Sunday, then pretty much they own their own destiny.
Very much. Yep. Yeah. You're absolutely sure about that. And they have a decently tough schedule left, but we'll have to see. Anyways, let's take that first break. We'll come back. We're going to talk Heisman trophies.
Yes. Finalists got announced
yesterday at halftime. That was another more exciting, actually pregame, excuse me, a little more exciting than the game itself. But let's do that. We'll take a break, come back, and talk Heisman finalists here in just a moment. The Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. It's time to talk college football. Yesterday, the Heisman finalists were announced. Could it be the year of the quarterback once again for Heisman voters? So, the finalists for the Heisman Trophy. In 2016, as it stands right now, Louisville quarterback Lamar Jackson, surprise, surprise. Oklahoma quarterback Baker Mayfield, that was a little bit of a surprise to me. Receiver D.D. Westbrook from Michigan. Also Oklahoma, D.D. Westbrook. Of Michigan, linebacker Jabril Peppers, linebacker kind of corner, does it all. And Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson. They are the finalists for the trophy, which will be announced Saturday, as a matter of fact, not far from where yesterday's Monday Night Football game that we were just talking about was held, and that is in New York. Obviously, you look at all the finalists. Lamar Jackson has been considered to be the favorite to win this after opening September, racking up 26 total touchdowns in the month and at least 400 yards of offense in each game. That is insane. He ended with the ACC single-season touchdown record with 51 and became the first player in FBS history with 3,300 yards passing and 1,500 yards rushing. He's the first finalist in Louisville history to ever be nominated. You look at the other candidates before Jeremiah's going to give us a list of some snubs and his thoughts on the list as well. We look at the other candidates. Mayfield ended the season as the highest-rated player in the country and saw his Heisman hopes take off over the past month as he finished with 3,669 yards, 44 total touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions, and he led the nation in completion percentage. It's pretty good from him. You look at D.D. Westbrook. He played just as well. He had 154 yards receiving in his first 3 games combined. Over the last 9, he failed to reach 100 yards, but he did have a total of 1,465 yards receiving, 16 total touchdowns to rank number 4 nationally in receiving yards per game. He averaged 122.1. Baker, Mayfield, and D.D. of Oklahoma. That's pretty good to have your quarterback and wide receiver duo. And then you look at Jabril Peppers. Surprise in a sense, but defensive players, they rarely get invitations. He had a great year, arguably the best defensive player in college football, and he's going to be up there as well. So what are your thoughts on this list?
I wasn't surprised by the names on this list. I was surprised by names that got left out, but I will get to that later. It has been said, or Lamar Jackson has been named the favorite, but man, I have a problem with him winning it, and it kind of I really do. I know he had the best stats. I know he's had the best year, but man, his performances in Louisville's 2 losses, 2 of them. I mean, he did play good against that loss against Clemson, but and the other 2 losses that his team has had, he did not look good at all. He didn't look like a Heisman winner to me. If you're a Heisman winner, I feel like you got to show out in every game, no matter if your team wins or loses. Mm-hmm. And against the game against Houston, the game that they were losing 31-0 at halftime, he did not look like a Heisman winner at all.
No, not at all. There's two games he didn't really look like.
Yeah, that. I can't name the other game on top of my head right now. But
Houston, and then I'll look it up.
He did look good against Clemson because he was leading his team, to possibly a game-tying drive. But I kind of have a problem with him winning it. He just didn't look like a Heisman winner every game, and I feel like you got to have a really good, consistent performance throughout the whole year for me to win it. But he did have the best stats. He had a heck of a year. Louisville, he literally without Lamar Jackson, I don't think Louisville would be anywhere near where they were at this entire year. Remember, they were fighting for a playoff spot last month. So I don't know if they would have done that without Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson does deserve to be on there, but I do have a problem of him winning it because of how bad he looked in some of his team's losses.
He didn't play that strong against Duke. I mean, he had 144 yards rushing, only 181 yards passing, 2 touchdowns each on the ground, and one for each. But he wasn't amazing in that game. He also didn't play amazing against Wake Forest. They won that game big, but not huge production from him. 145 yards and 1 touchdown passing, 153. Yes, that's amazing for a quarterback, but no scores there. Houston, obviously, he struggled 211. A touchdown passing, only 33 yards on the ground, most of which he was running for his life a lot because he got sacked, 11 times in that game. So, yeah, there's times he's looked really human. And you're right. You look for the consistency in Heisman winners. You look back at Sam Bradford. You look back at Tebow, when Tebow lit it up every game that year. You look back at Charles Woodson. He was making plays every game, it looked like. So, yeah, I mean, I would be fine with him winning the trophy. I'm fine with it. You look at 2015 to 2016 and what he did. He pretty much doubled his passing yardage. He threw one less interception last year than this year, but he easily almost doubled his touchdowns, and that's just passing. So he did double his touchdowns. He almost tripled his touchdowns is what I mean. So, I mean, the guy had a great year. His quarterback rating is 153.3. A perfect rating is 158.3. So, I mean, through the whole year, he played great. It's just those couple games that, they kind of shed a little bit of, a little shadow on the performance year long,
Yeah, and, I did say earlier is that he did have a great year. There's nothing against him like that. I just feel you got to perform really well in every game, and it's just the Heisman. It's one of those weird awards where your team has to be really good, and you have to be really good. Don't get me wrong, his team is really good, Lamar Jackson that is, but Lamar Jackson did have some pretty bad games. And moving forward to the other candidates here, Deshaun Watson, his numbers were better through 13 games this year than they were last year. Because remember, he was also a finalist.
Yes, he was.
As well. He was 6th nationally with 3,914 yards passing. He had 3,512 yards last year. He was tied for 37 touchdowns in the nation. He had 30 last year. He also had nearly 530 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns. But the thing is, he has thrown for 15 interceptions. And by college football standards, that's kind of a lot. So, I kind of feel like maybe he could have got left off this year, but, he did have a great year. His team is in the playoffs. I can't take anything away from that. Baker Mayfield, at first I kind of did have a problem with him in here, but then I realized what kind of year he had and the year that his team has had. Because remember, Oklahoma, they didn't start out very hot. Bob Stoops' job was in question in September.
Yes, it was.
And now they finished in the top 10. They arrived from a 1-2 start. Baker Mayfield had led the league in completion percentage. He did have 38 touchdowns, and he finished 4th in the Heisman voting behind Watson last year. So, he did have a pretty good year. The fact that he kind of helped rally his team from a slow start, that kind of says a lot to me. Because he didn't look good against the game against Houston to begin the year. And they did lose the game against, I think, Ole Miss as well. I think that was the other loss.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you can put – this could have had like 10 candidates this year. But I will get to that more later. Jabril Peppers, I feel like he was someone that deserved to be, in the finalists throughout the whole entire year. Well, not the whole entire year, but from October to now, I feel like Jabril Peppers was – a Heisman candidate, and he can do it all. And I have no problem with Peppers and this Heisman, as a Heisman finalist. Dede Westbrook, I have no problem with him in there either. He was just electrifying at the receiver position. He's one of the best receivers in the nation in college this year, and every time he was on the field, I think he was the reason why Baker Mayfield had really good numbers, just because of him. They kind of coincide with each other. Mm-hmm. Westbrook is the reason why Mayfield was successful. Mayfield was the reason why Westbrook was successful. So I think that's why they're both on here. Mm-hmm. As regarding to subs, how are you not going to put Jake Browning and Adoree Jackson on here?
I really wanted Adoree in there.
That baffles my mind.
I really wanted Adoree.
And I know. Donnell Pumphrey from San Diego State. I know he plays at San Diego State. I know he played a weak schedule. But you can't disregard the year that he had. He had over 2,000 yards rushing.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't even. I don't know what the votes were. I'd be interested to see how close he might have gotten, because that kid had an amazing year.
He had a really great year. He was probably one of the best running backs in college football.
Oh yeah, I would say so.
And Jake Browning, his team is in the playoffs. I think he's a big reason why they're in the playoffs. Without Jake Browning, I don't know how good that team would have been.
Maybe it was the game he had in the championship, because he was
maybe
pretty,
it was that. Maybe it was the game against USC too that kind of hurt his chances.
Yeah, his numbers weren't great in that game. I mean, they weren't like they were against Colorado, but they weren't horrible.
Yeah, but Jake Browning had like 42 touchdowns, and that's just
he had an amazing year.
He had an amazing year, and I just. Yeah, it baffles my mind. And, Corey Davis of Western Michigan, I think he was the best receiver in college football this year. I know he's on the team that plays in the MAC conference, but, man, he was electrifying on the field. He's probably one of the biggest reasons why Western Michigan has such a successful year. I think a lot of people are going to see Corey Davis in the Cotton Bowl, and I think they play in January. Mm-hmm. They're going to see how electrifying this kid is. And they're
going to learn that name.
They're going to learn that name. And, all I can say is I'm really excited to see Western Michigan, in a big-time game like that. But Corey Davis, I feel like he should have kind of got some consideration. But he didn't. And, those are guys I think that could have deserved consideration. But my two biggest snubs, Jake Browning and Adoree Jackson, I feel like it should have been – I said this on Facebook too. I forgot which order I said it in, but I think it should be. I really think it should be Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Jake Browning, Adoree Jackson, and Peppers. I really don't want to leave Westbrook and Mayfield out, but I feel like
with the way you have it, you kind of have to.
I kind of feel like I kind of have to. Yeah, I don't want to leave them out, but. You got to take two of them out.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's hard with doing this. That's what's hard about doing the Heisman voting. Somebody's got to get left out, and no matter how, qualified, they might look for the award. So that's the downside, unfortunately. But either way, a good player is going to end up winning this award.
Yeah, and it's going to be Lamar Jackson that wins this award. He has over 50 touchdowns.
It's going to be Lamar.
Yeah,
he's pretty good. So, I mean, that's pretty much understood. He's going to win. Great year by you guys, but Lamar's winning. Anyways, let's go ahead and take our last break and come back and do an update on the playoff positioning and what the rankings look like heading into Week 14 of the NFL as we get close to the last 4 weeks now as it stands. So, let's go ahead and do our break. We'll come back and talk more football in just a minute at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Contest Football Podcast. And we got some breaking news this morning. Baylor has a new coach. Baylor University. They have hired former Temple coach Matt Rule
Yes, former.
Yeah, it's former now.
Yeah.
Matt Rule he has accepted an offer to become the next head coach at Baylor. And Matt Rule he had a real good run with Temple there. He probably the greatest 2-year run they've ever had. They won 20 games. They're coming off a dominant 34-10 win over Navy. And to wrap up the American title, I forgot who they're going to play in the bowl game.
Temple?
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead,
but, Rule takes over, Bears program and needs a lot of help. They need a lot of help. I think Temple is ranked 24th right now after that huge win against the Navy. They had a really good year. They won 10 games this year, 10 games last year. They've been one of the top teams, in the American Conference. And it's been a tough conference for past couple of years. You got Houston emerging, Navy emerging.
And they will be playing Wake Forest.
Wake Forest. What bowl game is that?
That, my friend, is going to be the Military Bowl.
Oh,
Tuesday, December 27th at Jack Stevens Field at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium.
All right.
Annapolis, Maryland.
All right.
Something I like about him, before we get moving on, Matt Rule, he's in his career, he's done offense and defense, college, and NFL coaching spots all around the country. So he's pretty seasoned.
He's pretty seasoned, and that's something that Baylor needs right now.
Baylor,
their recruiting class, they've been stuck in neutral with the coaching staff that's pretty. They don't even know if they're going to be there. The 2016 signing class, it's just been whittled there for majority of the season. And Baylor, they start off 6-0. They started off hot, but then they lost 6 straight games, and they looked horrible in those games. And Jim Grobe, we talked about him earlier in the year how it's important for him to take over this program because he's turned around programs before. Jim Grobe, I feel like he didn't want to be there.
He came out of retirement to do that.
He did, but I feel he does not want to be there. He did not. I did not saw it, and I don't even think he cares that his team lost 6 games in a row. I felt like he just didn't want to be there. But Matt Rule looks like he's a really good hire for now. I'm actually kind of disappointed that Baylor didn't consider Mike Singletary.
Well,
I still am.
Maybe they did consider it.
They did, but he was a long shot. But, they are getting a good coach that has a very good track record.
Yeah, real quick, I want to actually go through that track record. So he started his career, as a coach at Albright. That is, I believe, a college. He was linebackers coach. Then he went on to Buffalo for 2 seasons. He was the assistant D-line coach, and the very next season he was the D-line coach. He went to UCLA as the assistant D-line coach. And then through 2002 to 2005, he worked his way through Western Carolina's coaching staff as a linebacker special teams coach. And then the next 2 years, he was the assistant head coach, linebackers, and special teams coach. And then the last year, he's the assistant head coach, the offensive line coach, the special teams coach, and I don't know what that abbreviation stands for, RGC. That's a weird one. Then he moved to Temple, and what's most impressive is he spent most of his time with Temple. He worked his way up through Temple. So in 2006, he started as a D-line coach. The next year, he went to quarterbacks and I don't know what RC is, but he went to that. Running back coach maybe. Receivers coach. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm stupid. I knew that. And then the next year, he went to offensive line and quarterbacks coach. And then the next year, he went to assistant offensive coordinator, tight ends coach, and receivers coach. Then he left for New York Giants for 1 year as assistant offensive line coach. Came back in 2013 in Temple. He was the head coach there until 2016, in which this year he won the ACC championship, or the title at least. Yeah, the championship in general, and now he will be coaching for Baylor. So, impressive resume for the guy.
Yeah, and Temple, they look like one of the most physical and disciplined teams in the country, and that's what Baylor needs right now. And also something I'm going to point out is that they rank number 5 in the nation and fewest yards per play allowed. And something I want to point out here, 3 other teams ranked ahead of them in that category are in the college football playoff, with Clemson being right behind Temple. So I do think this is a very good hire. It's a very underrated hire. I do think, and I like it.
It wasn't a huge high.
It wasn't a hire, but I think it's a huge hire, and I do think Matt Rule is on his name to be a big name head coach after this. We saw what he did with the program in Temple. They went from 2 wins first season, 6-6. Then they went to 10-4 and 10-3, and they are now in the top 25. I think they finished
chance to win another one.
I think they finished top 25 for 2 years in a row.
I would have to look to that. I know they finished 23 this year.
But yeah, he took a program over that's been involved in a very tough Group of 5 conference. Remember they got Houston. Memphis was good last year. A couple of years, Paxton Lynch's last few years there. Navy, they kind of emerged. So yeah, it's been a very tough conference. He took over a very bad team, but now they're probably one of the most physical programs in that conference and probably in the nation.
I agree with you on that one. We'll have to see how he does heading into the year. All right. Moving to the NFL, we're going to just update you real quick before we go on pretty much the playoff standings as it is at the moment. So let's start in the AFC. I'll do the AFC, you do the NFC. How's that sound?
I do the NFC?
Yeah, your favorite team's the NFC, mine's
okay,
the AFC.
All right.
Respective. All right, so the number 1 and number 2 seeds, the 2 teams that will be earning a first-round bye as it stands right now, are the Oakland Raiders and the New England Patriots, both sitting at 10-2. The tiebreaker goes to the Raiders. They have the tiebreaker over the New England Patriots based on best win percentage in common games. And they are all, so they're the AFC West champions. It stands. Probably going to win it, in my opinion. You have the more than likely AFC East champ, in the New England Patriots with the number 2 bye. So number 3, as it stands right now, is the Baltimore Ravens. They are the AFC North leader. They have the tiebreaker over Pittsburgh, and based on the head-to-head advantage, seeing as they have the same record. Number 4 would go to the Houston Texans, who are currently, as it stands, the South leader. And the 2 wildcard spots would go to the Denver Broncos and the Miami Dolphins. The Steelers coming in just 1 spot shy of that first spot. That last spot out. The Dolphins, of course, having the head-to-head victory over them from earlier in the year. First 2 teams out being the Steelers and the Colts, whom played yesterday, and their AFC, South comrades, the Tennessee Titans. So that's what it stands as right now. Today, it would end. We would have games with the Baltimore Ravens, Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos, Dolphins out, Steelers out, Colts out.
And Titans out, and Bills out, and Bills.
Yeah, you want to get that deep.
The Bills need the most help out of any team here.
Yes, and they're heading to play the Steelers this week.
Yeah, and we have a big game next Monday night. The Patriots versus the Ravens.
Oh, we're
gonna have really 2 good. We're gonna have 3 good primetime games. Thursday night starts off with the Raiders and the Chiefs. It's gonna be a heck of a game. It's probably gonna be more defensive than ever because it is on a Thursday. Then Sunday night we got the Cowboys and the Giants.
Yeah.
And then Monday night we got the Patriots and Ravens. So 3 primetime games. I think we're in for a really good week here in the NFL, Week 14. And as for the National League, the Dallas Cowboys are the number 1 seed at 11-1. They're probably going to stay there the entire year. I don't see them really losing probably more than 1 more game. This entire year.
I'm with you on that one. I think maybe the Giants could beat them, but other than that, I think they win out.
Other than that, they look like the best team. They look like the most sound team. They're just probably they look like the best team in the league. We'll just say that. And the Seattle Seahawks are the number 2 seed right now. They do lead the NFC West. It is a little bit weaker than it has been in years past. They are 8-3-1. They look like they're about to go on a huge playoff run. As we see in the past couple of weeks, despite losing 14-5 to Tampa Bay, and they look like they're going to hold on to the number 2 seed. And if they hold on to the number 2 seed, they have a good shot to make a huge playoff run because it is tough to play at Central League Field. Yeah,
and not to mention they get a first round bye.
Help
some injuries.
Yes,
help some injuries up, and then obviously I don't know if you mentioned it, but the only team to clinch a playoff spot still.
It is the Cowboys, and I did forget to mention that.
Not
Cowboys,
far, yeah. Remember, you wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
Not far from doing so though would be the Patriots and the Raiders. I think the Patriots might do it sooner, seeing as the AFC West is so congested.
Yeah,
there's not really a challenger. In
the
AFC.
AFC West might not be clinched until in 2 weeks.
It depends. They have a head-to-head matchup with the Chiefs this week.
The Chiefs, and then as I said, in 2 weeks, so they have to win. They have to win against the Chiefs. They have to beat the Chiefs, and then I think the week after, if they win the week after they play, if they win Week 15 and the Chiefs lose that game, then I think they clinch it. But anyway, let's moving on. The Detroit Lions are coming as the number 3 seed. They are leading the NFC North. They look really good. They look really good. And I think we have to start taking them seriously as an actual contender now. The defense has been playing really good. The offense, of course, they've been playing really good. They've been playing really great life without Megatron.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons, though, this is the team I really don't think it's I don't think they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think it's the one team that might fall out of the standings here. They're 7-5. They lead the NFC South. They do have the tiebreaker over Tampa Bay, but they go in these games. They play really good, and then they just happen to lose it at the end, just how they did last Sunday. And we got the Giants at number 5 at 8-4. They do play the Cowboys, so there's still a chance that the Giants can win the East, but it's probably not going to happen.
It'd be tough to do.
The Cowboys will have to win. Will have to lose 4 more times, and then the Giants will have to win 4 more times. So it's pretty hard scenario to fathom there. And of course, the final playoff spot as of right now, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. After defeating the Chargers 28-21, they are now not sole possession of the 6th spot right now, and they are tied for the NFC South. I actually think Tampa Bay will actually win the division. I think so. I think they are. They've been playing really good. And as for the other teams in hunt, we got Washington Redskins 6-5-1, Minnesota Vikings 6-6, Green Bay Packers 6-6, Arizona Cardinals 5-6-1. So out of the teams that are still in the hunt, I can realistically say Washington gets in, but it's gonna maybe Green Bay, but it's gonna be hard for me to see the Vikings or the Cardinals in the playoffs. I can honestly see 3 teams compete for the last wildcard spot. That is the Bucs, the Redskins, and the Packers.
Well, as of right now, the Packers, they're trying to get even with the Lions in the NFC North. The Lions go to play the Bears this week. The Packers go and play the Seahawks. So one's going to be a little easier.
Well, the Packers and Seahawks game is at Lambeau. So
still, I still think the Seahawks are a better team than
they are. They are. And I agree with you on that. But I'm saying it's going to be a lot easier for the Packers to play head-to-head with the Seahawks. If the game is at Century League Field, forget about it.
Yeah, I got you. It's hard for anybody. Yeah. Well, that's what it stands as right now. Oh, don't forget, in the 16th spot in both the AFC and the NFC playoff positioning, you have the Cleveland Browns, who technically speaking, no, they're not.
They're eliminated.
And the 49ers, who are also eliminated. So, sucks to suck. Anyways,
we gotta have a debate on this show. Who's worse?
The Cleveland Browns.
Okay, we gotta have a debate because I can
debate over Cleveland Browns.
I can make a whole huge case that the Niners are worse. I could probably talk for hours. I'm kidding. We don't want to hear that.
You're biased.
How they're the worst team in the league?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are.
They are. Yeah. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and finish up here, and by doing so, tomorrow we're going to talk anything and everything that comes up in the world of football. On Wednesday, though, it's Anthony, Jeremiah, and I. So that means we have Wacky Wednesday and Wide Left. Wacky Wednesday, and we have For Real. But
yes, we do.
We may or may not do it because it's kind of hard and deep in the season. Where do we want to do For Real? How many people can really be for real anymore?
I kind of feel like by now people should be for real.
Exactly.
Our teams.
Exactly. So we'll see. Maybe we'll fill it with a new segment. Anyways, it's that time. We're going to get out of here. But anyways, for Anthony, as always, I'd like to love you guys. Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts. Thank you for tuning in. For Anthony, we'd like to thank you for listening. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jeremiah.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow. You enjoy your day and enjoy any kind of football news out there, you guys. And we'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.